The wind was cold and sharp across the ruined fields of Colony 9. The sky was always gray, like it had forgotten how to shine. Buildings stood broken like old bones, and nothing green grew anymore. In the middle of all this silence and ash, a man named Jace walked alone. Jace was thin, hungry, and covered in dust. His clothes were old and torn. His shoes had holes, but he kept walking. Each day he searched for food, old cans, dry roots, anything. Some nights he didn't eat at all. But he never stole, never begged. He had pride, even if the world had taken everything else from him. Long ago, this colony was full of life. Then the war came, giant alien ships. Fire in the sky, screams, and running. Now it was empty, or so Jace thought, because someone was watching him. From deep inside the dark forest near the edge of the ruined town, something large was always watching. Eyes glowed faintly behind thick trees. But they disappeared when Jace looked. He felt it sometimes, the feeling of being seen. Not with danger, but with sadness. One evening, after walking all day without water, Jace collapsed beside a broken wall. His hands shook, his lips cracked. His last thought was, I just need to rest. Just for a moment, and then he passed out. When he opened his eyes, everything felt soft and warm. He was lying on thick leaves inside a deep cave. A small fire glowed nearby, warming the space. He sat up fast, confused and scared. Where am I? He whispered. Then a voice came from the shadows, deep and soft. You should not be out there alone, it said. Jace's heart jumped. He looked around but saw no one. The cave was large, the walls smooth and shining like black glass. He reached for a stick to protect himself, but the voice spoke again. I mean no harm, human, the voice said. You were cold, dying. I brought you here. A shape stepped forward from the shadows. Jace's eyes widened in shock. Standing before him was a giant alien woman, nearly 10 feet tall. Her skin was dark green with patterns like stone. Her arms were strong, her shoulders wide. But her eyes were gentle. Jace didn't speak. His mouth was dry, his heart loud. She bent down slowly and placed a bowl of water beside him. Drink, she said. Her voice was low, like the earth itself speaking. He drank without asking more questions. The water was clean and cold. It felt like life returning to his body. Then she handed him some cooked roots and soft bread, fresh, warm, real. He stared at her, confused. Why are you helping me? He asked. She looked away for a moment, then said, because I see myself in you for days. Jace stayed in the cave. She never gave her name, just called herself the widow. She spoke little, but watched him always. She fixed his clothes, brought him food, made sure he rested. She moved with grace, despite her size, and her presence no longer scared him. One night, as they sat near the fire, Jace asked her, were you here during the war? She nodded slowly. I was a warrior once. I lost my mate in the battle that burned this land. Her eyes became distant, filled with memories. Since then, I have lived in the shadows, watching the world forget us. Jace didn't know what to say, so he just sat with her, the fire crackling between them. For the first time in years, he felt not alone, but there was something strange in the way she looked at him. Something deep, something waiting. He felt her gaze when he slept, when he worked, not like a hunter, but like someone with a secret. Then, one morning, he woke to find a carved stone placed beside him. It had markings on it, glowing slightly in the dark. He picked it up, confused. That's when she spoke from behind him. I have watched you, Jace. You are strong even in pain, brave even in silence. He turned to face her, heart beating fast. You survived when many would give up, she said. Her eyes glowed softly. That is why I have chosen you. He stepped back, unsure. Chosen me. For what? She looked down, then stepped closer. For bonding, she said. For marriage, Jace froze. The room felt heavy. The stone in his hand pulsed with light. He stared up at the giant alien widow. Completely speechless, Jace stood frozen. The carved stone still glowing in his hand. The words she had just spoken echoed in his ears. For bonding, for marriage, he looked at her in disbelief. His mouth opened, but no words came out. How could a giant alien widow want to marry him, a poor, broken man with nothing to offer? The widow stood tall and calm. Her eyes, soft and glowing, did not blink. She didn't look angry or amused. Just steady, waiting. She meant it, every word. You saved me, he finally said. You gave me food, shelter. I'm grateful, but marriage. She walked slowly to the fire and sat on a large stone. Her movements were graceful, quiet. Her voice was deep, but filled with sadness and peace. My kind bonds only once, but when our mates die in war, we are allowed to bond again anonymly if the soul feels the pull. Jace lowered the stone. Trying to understand, the air in the cave felt heavier now. You don't even know me, he whispered. I have watched you for many days, she said. Before I brought you here, I saw how you walked through firestorms. How you helped a wounded animal and gave your food to a child who had nothing. Even when you had nothing too. Jace blinked. Remembering that moment, he thought no one had seen him do that. But she had. I saw honor, pain, and silence in you, she continued. You reminded me of him. My mate, before he was taken from me. She looked away then, her strong hands resting on her knees. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I am tired of being alone, and the tribe will soon come to take me back. But they will not accept me unless I am bonded again. Jace sat down slowly, mind spinning. So, this is about your tribe. She turned her head, locking eyes with him. No, this is about choice. I chose you not because of duty, but because I see light in your brokenness. There was silence for a long time. Only the fire crackled, and the distant howling of wind echoed through the cave walls. What happens if I say no? Jace asked quietly. She did not flinch. Then you are free to go. I will give you supplies, food, water, even a weapon to protect yourself. I will not stop you. That shocked him more than the proposal itself. He had expected pressure, guilt, but she gave him freedom. She meant it. The days passed slowly. But something in the cave had changed. Jace now saw her not just as a tall, powerful being, but as someone deeply lonely. Someone scarred, not just on her body, but in her soul. Her kindness was quiet, never forced, never loud. She would leave food for him, mend his torn clothes, fix his boots with thick alien thread. Sometimes he would catch her watching the fire, holding a small metal charm that must have belonged to her mate. Her shoulders would sag, and her eyes would shine with memories she didn't speak of. One night, a storm raged outside. The wind howled like wild beasts. The fire inside the cave flickered, throwing shadows on the walls. Jace could not sleep. He sat near the fire, staring at the glowing stone she had given him. Its light pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. Does it hurt? He asked suddenly, the bonding. Does it hurt? The widow turned from the entrance where she had been standing guard. Not the body, she said. Walking closer, but the soul. Yes, it changes you. It opens parts of the heart you didn't know were closed. She sat beside him, their shoulders almost touching. Jace looked up at her. Her face was calm, strong. But there was a deep sadness in her eyes. Why me? He asked again, his voice barely above a whisper. She smiled softly, because you survived without becoming cruel. That is rare. He didn't know what to say, so he just nodded. That night, he didn't sleep on the far corner of the cave like before. He moved closer to the fire, and she did too. No words were needed. The next morning, something strange happened when Jace touched the stone again. It felt warm, it glowed brighter, and small alien symbols began to move across its surface. The widow looked at it and said nothing, but her eyes widened slightly. "What is it?" he asked. She whispered, "The bond. It's responding, even before the ritual. Your soul is answering." Jace didn't understand all of it, but he felt something real, something powerful pulling inside him. Not fear, not anymore, but something deeper. A feeling that he was no longer drifting in the world. But just as this strange peace settled between them, a distant howl cut through the forest. The widow stood up quickly, her body tense. "They're coming," she said. "Who?" Jace asked, already reaching for the weapon she had made for him. She looked into the trees beyond the cave. "Not my tribe," she said. Something worse. Jace's heart raced. The stone still glowed in his hand, and outside, danger was coming fast. The sounds outside the cave grew louder. Branches cracked, dry leaves shifted, and a low growl echoed through the trees. Jace stood near the entrance with his back straight and eyes focused. His hands held a long spear made from strong bone and sharpened stone. It wasn't much, but it was all he had. The widow moved without sound, her giant form sliding beside him like a shadow. She held no weapon, only her own body, strong and solid like a wall of living stone. Her eyes glowed faintly, scanning the darkness beyond the trees. "Who is it?" Jace asked, voice tight. "Hunters," she said calmly. "They are not from my tribe. They come from beyond the northern cliffs. They follow the scent of bonding light." Jace looked down at the glowing stone in his pocket. "You mean?" "They're here because of this." She nodded once. "The bond has awakened. It carries power. Many seek to steal that power by force." Jace swallowed hard. He had always lived a hard life, but this was something else. "Why didn't you tell me before?" he asked. She looked at him with calm eyes. "Would it have changed your answer?" Jace didn't speak. The truth was, he didn't know. He had been scared, confused, unsure of why anyone, especially a powerful alien woman, would choose him. Now he stood between her and danger. Not because of some grand plan, but because it felt right. The first hunter appeared through the trees. It was tall, thin, and fast, covered in armor made of black bone. Its face was hidden behind a mask with long fangs. It hissed when it saw the widow, then pointed a long spear at her. More shadows moved behind it. 3 more hunters. They circled slowly. Jace could feel the pressure in the air. Like standing inside a storm, the widow stepped forward, placing one hand in front of Jace. "Do not engage unless I fall," she whispered. Jace clenched his jaw. "I'm not letting you fight alone." She turned slightly, and for a moment, a flicker of something warm passed through her eyes. "You already carry more strength than you see," she said. The fight began fast, faster than Jace could blink. The widow moved like a thunderstorm. Her fists slammed into the ground, sending shockwaves through the dirt. 2 hunters flew back, one crashing into a tree, the other landing in the fire pit. Jace didn't stay frozen this time. He ran forward, using the traps they had set earlier around the cave. He jumped over a rope, ducked behind a rock, and pulled a lever made of branches. A pit opened, and one hunter fell in, shrieking, but one got through. It lunged at the widow's back with a sharp blade. Jace saw it and acted. He threw his spear, hitting the hunter in the shoulder. It roared in pain and turned to him instead. Jace didn't run. He picked up a burning branch from the fire and held it like a sword. The hunter rushed at him, fast and full of rage, at the last second. The widow appeared between them, her arm blocking the strike. She grabbed the hunter by the neck and threw it far into the woods. The battle was over in minutes. The ground was scattered with broken weapons and deep footprints. The forest was quiet again. Jace sat down near the fire. Breathing hard, the widow stood tall, her arms scratched but not bleeding. Her chest moved with heavy breaths, but she was still strong. "You fought well," she said softly. "Not really," Jace replied, chuckling nervously. "I just didn't want you to get stabbed." She smiled gently and sat beside him. "You are not just surviving anymore. You are living, choosing, protecting." Jace looked into the fire. His mind was still spinning. "I'm nothing special," he said. "I'm just a man who lost everything." She reached into a small pouch and pulled out another stone. This one darker, with red lines moving across it like veins. "This is the Heartstone," she said. "It glows only for those whose spirit burns. It is glowing now because of you." Jace touched the stone. It was warm, and the light inside it pulsed slowly. He felt strange strong, but also afraid. "Why me?" he asked again, voice softer now. The widow turned to him. "Because you survived without hate. You walked through pain without losing your kindness. You gave even when you had nothing." He shook his head. "But I'm not brave. Bravery is not the absence of fear," she said. "It is standing up while afraid. That is what you did." Jace looked at her. Really looked. Behind her strength was grief. Deep and quiet. She had lost her mate. Lost her place, and still found a way to care. He didn't feel unworthy anymore. He felt chosen. The wind outside had stopped. The stars were beginning to shine, and the cave was warm with firelight. Jace leaned back, eyes half closed. "So what happens next?" The widow stood and looked toward the north, her voice calm but firm. "We go to my tribe." Jace looked up at her. "Will they accept me?" She turned and offered her hand. "They will try not to. That is why we go together." The morning sun rose behind the tall black trees. Golden lights sliding across the forest like a soft blanket. But Jace could not enjoy the beauty. His legs ached, his shoulders hurt, and his mind was full of questions. He walked beside the widow through narrow, rocky paths, stepping carefully across fallen branches and strange alien roots. They had left the cave early. After burning what could not be carried, the danger was real now. The hunters had found them once, and they would return. The widow said her tribe lived many days away, hidden behind the high cliffs of the west. They walked without rest, but also without words. Finally, when the sun began to fall again, they stopped beside a quiet stream. Jace drank deeply and sat on a smooth rock. His muscles shook, but he didn't complain. The widow crouched beside him, dipping her hands into the water and washing the dust from her arms. Jace looked at her, the firelight of last night still in his mind. "You said the bond makes others jealous," he said slowly. "But those hunters, they weren't just jealous. They wanted to hurt you. Why?" The widow didn't answer right away. She looked at the flowing water, watching it dance around the stones. Finally, she spoke, her voice quiet and heavy. "Because I carry something they want. Something my dead mate left behind." Jace leaned in, listening closely. "What is it?" She didn't meet his eyes. "My mate was not just a warrior. He was a soul keeper in our tribe. That means he carried knowledge, ancient knowledge about the stars, the old machines, and the codes hidden in the bones of the world." Jace blinked. "Surprised? You mean like lost alien technology?" She nodded. "Before the war, the keepers were hunted by outsiders. Not for power, but for what they knew when the war reached our land. My mate stayed to protect the stone library. I begged him to flee, but he refused." Her voice broke for just a second, and Jace saw her chest rise slowly as she held the pain inside. "He died there. His body was never found. Only his soulbond stone survived, and I carry it now." She pulled a small object from beneath her cloak. It was shaped like an eye, smooth and black. with cracks running across the surface. It pulsed with a strange light, almost like it was breathing. "This holds his last memory," she said, "and maybe the last map to what he protected." Jace stared at it, realizing for the first time that he was part of something far bigger than he had imagined. So the hunters. "They want this, yes," she replied. "They believe if they take me and complete a forced bond, they will unlock the memory." Jace clenched his fists. "That's sick. They want to bond with you just to steal what your mate left. That is why I stayed hidden," she said. "But now that your bond light has awakened, it has marked me again. And them as well." He looked at her with new understanding. "And your tribe. Will they protect you?" The widow's face grew hard. "They are divided. Some believe I should have joined the council and given up the past. Others still honor the old ways, but I am a widow with no bond, and to them, that makes me half alive." Jace stood slowly, feeling the weight of her story settle into his bones. "Then why take me to them?" he asked. "Won't they reject me?" She looked at him, her eyes glowing softly. "Because you are not like them. Because I don't need their permission to choose who stands at my side." There was silence again. But this time, it felt like a new beginning, not an end. As night fell, they made a small fire and sat close for warmth. Jace looked into the flames, thinking of the man she had lost, and the life he must have lived. He tried to imagine the pain of holding on to a memory so powerful that others would kill for it. Then he looked at herstrong.com, full of scars and strength for the first time. He felt something deep inside his chest. Not fear, not duty, but respect. "You talk about your mate like he was a legend," Jace said. "But I think you're the legend now." The widow didn't answer, but a small smile touched her lips. Suddenly, they heard a distant sound, metal scraping stone. The widow stood up fast, eyes sharp. "Scouts," she said. "They are close." Jace grabbed his walking stick, now sharpened with fire. "Then let's not make it easy for them," she nodded. "We move before dawn, as the stars watched from above, to Soul's one giant." One human sat side by side in the middle of a dying world, both running from the past and toward something neither fully understood. The ground was wet with morning dew as Jace and the widow moved through the dense forest. The air felt thick, full of tension. Every branch that snapped under their boots sounded like thunder. Behind them, the shadows moved, silent scouts, tracking their every step. They didn't speak much now. They had fallen into a rhythm. Jace watched the trail while the widow watched the trees above. She moved like a ghost for her size, each step careful and quiet. Jace had never fought in a war, but beside her, he felt like a soldier as they reached a narrow, rocky pass. The widow stopped and raised her hand. Jace froze. He knew that signal now. Danger was near. From behind the rocks, 3 alien hunters appeared. Taller than humans, but shorter than the widow. Their armor was made from bone and leather, and their eyes glowed with red lines. They held blades shaped like claws and moved like wolves, ready to strike. "They followed our scent," the widow whispered. "No more running, we fight." Jace nodded, gripping his spear tighter. His heart beat fast, but he didn't back away. He had fought before against hunger, cold, pain, but now he fought for something more. For her, the hunters moved first. One jumped high toward Jace, another ran straight at the widow. The third circled around behind the rocks. Trying to trap them, Jace ducked low, just as the first hunter swung its blade. The spear in his hands caught the hunter's leg. Tripping it, he rolled to the side, grabbed a handful of sand, and threw it into its eyes. The creature roared, swinging wildly. Jace stabbed once, then twice, hitting the soft part between its ribs. Meanwhile, the widow moved like a storm. Her massive hands grabbed her attacker by the arm and slammed it into the ground. The rocks cracked beneath the force. She picked up a broken tree branch and smashed it into the hunter's chest, ending the fight in one powerful blow. But the third one was smart. It had climbed the rock wall and now leaped from above. Aiming straight for Jace's back, the widow saw it first. Jace. She shouted and ran within human speed. Jace turned, too late to defend himself. The hunter's blade slashed through the air, but never hit him. The widow had thrown herself in front of the attack, the blade scraping against her shoulder. Blood hit the ground, thick and dark green. Jace's eyes widened as he saw her stumble back. But she didn't fall. Instead, she growled and swung her arm in a wide arc. Sending the hunter flying into a tree with a loud snap, the forest grew quiet again. The fight was over, but the cost was clear. The widow's shoulder was bleeding badly, and her breath came in short bursts. "You're hurt," Jace said, running to her side. "It's nothing," she replied through clenched teeth. "Just a mark." Jace tore part of his sleeve and pressed it against the wound. Her skin was hot, her blood thick and glowing slightly. He looked into her face, and for the first time, saw pain she could not hide. "You saved me," he whispered. "You saved me first," she said. Her voice softer now. "You stood your ground. You didn't run." He helped her sit under a tree, wrapping the cloth tight around her shoulder. She watched him closely, her eyes not blinking. Something passed between them in that silence. Something not made of words. She reached out and touched his chest. "Right above his heart, your light is growing," she said. "I can feel it." Jace looked down and saw the mark on his hand, once faint now, glowing brighter. The lines were spreading, moving up his wrist, warm and alive. He felt no pain, only warmth, like fire and calm water at the same time. "What's happening to me?" he asked. The widow leaned closer. "The bond has chosen. Even before the ritual, your soul has opened. It is reaching for mine." He didn't understand all of it, but something inside him responded. The fear was still there, but it was smaller now, swallowed by something stronger. Trust as night came. They built a small fire and sat close for warmth. Jace kept his eyes on the forest while the widow rested. He had changed. He felt it not just in his body, but in his heart. He was no longer the man who only wanted to survive. Now, he wanted to protect something, someone. And she was no longer just a mysterious figure in the woods. She was something real, something brave, something broken but still standing. And when the wind blew gently across the fire, carrying the scent of the stars, Jace looked at her and whispered, "We'll make it to your tribe. I promise." She looked at him, and for the first time, her lips curved into a true smile, not out of duty, not from strength, but from hope. The cliffs rose high like the bones of the planet. Sharp and gray against the sky, Jace had never seen anything like it. Behind the cliffs, hidden deep inside narrow passes, was the place the widow called home. It had taken many days and nights of walking, hiding and fighting to get here. But now, they stood at the edge of her world. The path narrowed into a wide cave mouth with tall stones standing like guards. Symbols were carved into them, ancient and glowing. Jace could not read them, but he felt the power in the air. His heart beat fast as they stepped forward together. A sound came from within the cave, low and growing. Dozens of shapes stepped into view, tall, strong alien figures like the widow. They wore armor made of stone and bone, faces hard, eyes sharp. They raised their weapons the moment they saw him. One of them growled, "You bring a human here, to sacred ground." The widow raised her hand calmly. "He is not just a human. He is my chosen bond." The tribe members looked at each other, some with confusion, others with disgust. Then one of the elders stepped forward. Taller than the rest, his skin silver gray with deep scars. "We do not accept outsiders," he said, "especially not weak ones. Jace felt the words hit him like stones. He clenched his jaw, but stayed silent. He had expected this, but it still stung. "You forget your own laws," the widow replied, her voice steady. "Bonding is sacred, and the soul chooses where it will rest." The elder's eyes narrowed. "Then let him prove his worth. If he fails, he leaves in pieces." The widow stepped forward. "No," she said. "I will not allow him to be harmed." But Jace touched her arm gently and stepped ahead. "I'll face whatever test you want," he said, "not to win your respect." But because I believe in her, the tribe laughed. A cold sound. The elder raised a hand. "Then face the trial of standing, if you fall. The bond is broken forever." Jace nodded, though he didn't know what the trial meant. The widow pulled him aside, her voice low and full of worry. "It's not about fighting back," she said. "It's about standing still. They will try to break you with force. But you must not fall." Jace swallowed hard. "What if I do fall? Then they will say you are unworthy and take me away." He looked into her eyes. "And all fear melted. Then I won't fall," he said. They brought him to the center of the cave. The ground was marked with a circle of fire. He stepped inside, took a deep breath, and waited. The first warrior came fast, slamming a wooden staff into his chest. Jay staggered but stayed up. The second hit his legs. Then a third hit his back. He gritted his teeth. Sweat pouring from his face. The pain was sharp. But he remembered her words, "Don't fall." Time passed like a blur. The crowd shouted, the wind howled. His body bent but never broke. Every time he felt like collapsing, he saw her face in his mind. The way she had smiled at the fire. The way she had saved him, believed in him, finally. The elder raised his hand. "Enough," he said. Jace dropped to his knees, breathing hard, blood on his arms. But still inside the circle, still standing tall in spirit. There was silence, long and deep. Then one of the elders stepped forward and nodded slowly. "He stood," the elder said. "He did not strike back. He did not run. He did not fall." Another voice added, "He carries no blood. Only fire." The widow walked into the circle and helped Jace up. She didn't say anything, but the way she looked at him said everything. Pride, love, and something deep bonded. The lead elder stepped forward. "We do not understand your choice," he said to the widow. "But we cannot deny it." Then he turned to Jace. "Human, you may walk among us, but your soul belongs to her now, and her fate belongs to you." Jace nodded slowly. "That's all I want," he said, that night. The fire in the center of the cave burned brighter than ever. Songs were sung in a language Jace didn't know, but felt deep in his bones. The tribe still watched him with cautious eyes. But no longer with hatred, he sat beside the widow. His hand resting in hers, her shoulder was wrapped in healing cloth. His chest was full of bruises, but together they were strong. And when the stars came out over the cliffs, the widow whispered, "They may never love you, Boot. They will never forget what you stood for." Jace smiled softly. "Neither will I." The sun rose over the cliffs like a golden flame, spilling light over the alien valley where the tribe now gathered in silence. Jace stood in the center of the sacred ground, the same place where he had faced the trial of standing. But this time, he was not alone. The widow stood beside him, tall and proud, her wounds healing. Her heart full, drums echoed softly in the distance. Slow and steady like a heartbeat. The tribe had not fully welcomed him. Not with words, but their actions had changed. They no longer turned their backs when he walked by. Warriors nodded to him. Elders watched him with quiet respect. Children followed him with curious eyes, whispering the name Stone Stand, the title given to him after the trial. Jace felt strange in his own skin. He was still human, still small. Still scarred, but something inside had grown. Not just strength, not just courage, but purpose. He no longer felt like a lost soul. He felt like he belonged. The widow stepped forward and raised the bonding stone, its light brighter now than ever. The symbols danced across its surface like fireflies in the night. She looked at Jace, her voice clear and strong. You came from a broken place, and still you stood. You gave without promise, fought without reward, and carried your pain without letting it turn you cruel. She paused, and her voice softened. I chose you, not because you were strong, but because you were kind. Jace stepped forward, holding his half of the stone, the mark on his hand now glowing fully. His voice was steady, even though his heart raced. You saved my life, but more than that. You showed me how to live again. I didn't think I mattered. Until you saw me. He looked around at the watching tribe. Then back at her. I don't have a tribe. I don't have a world to return to. But if you'll have me, I'll stand with you. For whatever comes next, she nodded, and together they placed the two bonding stones into the circle of flame. The stones rose slowly, lifted by invisible energy, glowing white and gold. Then they cracked softly, melting into a single, pulsing light that floated between them. A wind swept through the valley, warm and full of life. The tribe gasped as the light wrapped around the widow and Jace, forming a glowing thread that connected their hearts. It pulsed once, twice, then sank into their chests. The bonding was complete. The elder stepped forward and placed a heavy stone ring in Jace's hand. You are now soul-bound, he said. You carry her fate, and she carries yours. If you fall, she falls. If you rise, she rises. Jace bowed his head, understanding the weight of it, but not fearing it. That night, a great fire was lit in the heart of the valley, not just to honor the bonding, but to mark the return of the widow, no longer alone. No longer grieving, she had chosen a path that no one expected. And that made it sacred, as the tribe danced and sang. Jace sat beside her, their shoulders touching. Their hands rested together, fingers laced. The night sky stretched above them, full of stars and quiet hope. Do you miss Earth? She asked him softly. Jace smiled and looked up. I don't even know where Earth is anymore, he said, but I don't miss it. Because I've found something better. She tilted her head. And what is that? He turned to her and said, a reason to stay, for the first time in many seasons. The widow felt peace inside her bones. The pain of her mate's loss was still there, but it no longer ruled her heart. In its place was something new. Something built not from old memories, but from new choices in the distance. A scout returned with news more outsiders were coming. Those who still hunted the secrets her mate had died to protect. The threat was not over. The war had not ended, but now she would not face it alone. Jace stood beside her as the scout explained. His grip on her hand tightened, not in fear, but in readiness. Let them come, he said quietly. This time, we fight together. She nodded, her eyes glowing in the firelight. Together, she whispered, and so, in a land forgotten by maps and burned by war, a giant alien widow and a broken human man stood side by side, not as warrior and survivor, but as bondmates soul-bound, ready to face whatever future waited in the stars.